Hey everyone, thanks for joining for this session on why more communication actually hurts your strategy. Now, we live in an age where we hear the phrase all the time, more is better. You want to get faster, you want to get better, you want more, bigger, better, faster. You hear this, it's almost like a drumbeat that you hear all the time. And if you're like me, you probably get exhausted from just trying to keep up the pace with everything going on in the world. Your church communication is no different. If you were to take the time to look at all the other churches that are going on in your area and what they're doing, you probably feel really overwhelmed pretty fast by all the things they're doing. In fact, you're probably going to feel like you're behind. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and there's no way you can do everything that they're doing. You know, one of the interesting things about church communications is that all of your work is on display for everybody to see. Okay, your stuff is the billboard or the sign that's out in front of your church. You've got a website that you probably produce, graphics, videos, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. Your stuff is broadcast for everybody to see. So it's super easy to take what you do and turn around and compare it to somebody else. And when you see the volume by which they are communicating so much, you start to think to yourself, wow, am I not doing my job? Am I not doing enough for my church? And honestly, that's a normal, honest, authentic gut reaction. And I have that gut reaction too whenever I'm doing my work. I tend to think, wow, the church down the road from me is just so much cooler than us. They're doing so much more than us. I feel like we're just falling behind. But the truth of the matter is that just because somebody's doing more doesn't mean they're more effective. In fact, the opposite is just true. And that is, the more you communicate, the more you try to tell people, the more things you try to communicate to people, and the higher volume of stuff you kick out, actually the less effective you're going to be. Because if you think about it, a person's only got so many channels by which they're going to consume information. They may be on Facebook, they may be on Instagram, maybe email, maybe a little Netflix, TV, whatever it is in terms of how they view that. But they've only got so many channels by which they're consuming information. So if you increase the volume of things that you're pinging them with, your likelihood of you actually getting your message in actually decreases. Why? Because your church is now communicating not just one thing, you're communicating many things. You're not just communicating this thing about maybe a new vision series, sermon series, you're now communicating vision sermon series, the children's ministry VBS, student summer camp, okay, mission trip. Then all of a sudden, maybe you're getting ready to vote on the next set of trustees or elders for your church. You know, you've all of a sudden you got 5 or 6 things you're all trying to communicate more and more and more and more and more, and it's getting lost in all the communication. Instead, communication, when it's brought down and you're only focusing on communicating a few things, becomes so much more potent. In fact, there was a study a while back about this, that there was a group of researchers who set up a group of jellies, if you will, in the middle of a grocery store. And what they did was they listed out, I believe, 24 different types of jellies with some coupons. And they said, hey, try some of this jelly. If you like it, there's a coupon, you can pick up some jelly. And so they did that, and they had a pretty decent response from it. Then the next day they come back, they got rid of the 24 jars, and they just put 6 jars out with the same coupons, 10% off, buy some jelly. Well, guess what? They had triple, if not quadruple, number of people buy jelly from just the 6 jars versus the 24 jars. Why? Because we took those options, those choices from 24 down to 6. Okay, so we were communicating less at that point. We weren't trying to communicate 24 things, we were just trying to communicate 6 things. If you were to take a look at your church communication, everything you have going on, how many things you're communicating, and what would your communications look like if you took those maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, if we're being honest, things we're communicating, and you say, guys, we're just going to communicate 3 things. What would that look like? What would it look like if you just had 3 things that you're going to communicate? Well, first off, let's be honest, that'll be a little hard because you have to tell some people we're not going to communicate about your Bible study or small group. We're not going to communicate about that little thing that you want us to do. We're just going to focus on these big 3 things. And yes, that will be painful and that'll be hard. And we'll talk a little bit more of that in another session. But your communication would be so much more effective because all of your channels, social media, your website, your bulletin, maybe the banner outside in front of your church, all would be singing the same message and communicating the same message. And the message would be hitting people consistently on a consistent basis because it's the 1 to 2, 3 things that you're constantly pinging people with versus 24 to 30 different things. So again, this more is better ideology that we get from when we compare ourselves to others and we see what else is going on in the world doesn't equal better communication. Actually equals less communication. when you pare things down to something that's smaller, you're going to get actually more effective communication because you're focusing on just a few things and communicating those things well. So more actually equals less, and less communication actually equals better communication.